Today we're going to look at controlling the positions. Normally, I think I mentioned this in one of the earlier classes, we do a tough job first, you do the body position, then you move to the attacking position, but I want to make sure you guys understand how to hold, how to pin, and then after that point too, I want to make sure that you're attacking the position, positionally, not just submission based. Then we'll work on our escapes, and then we'll work on our subs again. So Chris. Now, a few things, just to recap, because the first position that you should be getting to is side control when you're passing. It's the easier to catch position, and it's also a lot more viable to keep someone in there when there's momentum and everything else. So based off our last couple weeks of dealing with the closed guard, we opened up the guard, we were on our feet, we did our Toriando, fake, step, and then just driving into position and pinning the guy. Or from the last class, we got to our knee in, either a stack pass or staple pass, both of which puts us nicely into our, again, side control position. So what I want you guys to understand on the bottom first is that always look for your hand positions. We talked about this again earlier. But you shouldn't just be lying there dead, legs flat, right, and not prepared for the position, because you're training yourself to be unprepared for the position. As my partner is passing, even if he's allowing the position to happen, he should be looking for his hand positions. Shoulder, hip, and then keeping his knee in basically so that he's stopping the pass already. He'd be in a position where he could regard, but then he allows me to flatten him out and gather up my control. Okay, so just again on the person on the bottom, never flat with your legs, feet close to the butt so your hips are live. Knee pressure, again on whatever side is closest to the hip. And then hand positions here, again, we can't do different things as far as blocking the cross face right away, but just standard working with our frame. Forearm across my waist or hips, forearm across my throat, not buried underneath my shoulder here. And again, if he gets his hand positions in, then in this position, he can counter me right away, be ready to give me some issues here. Okay, so that's person on the bottom, just so that we have the right position. But the main point here today is going to be based off of how we control someone in this position, in side control, and a couple options for going to mount so that we are attacking without being silly. Okay. Now our standard side control. Now remember, side control or cross mount or side mount, it's a cross, right? His line of the spine, my line of my spine, completely perpendicular. Okay. A lot of the kids are bad for this. They always want to be like dealing with people like in a standing kind of position, head to head, and then they're here and like nothing's like blatantly wrong with this when you see them do this, but you can see this isn't good control. The more of my body line that's over top of his, the easier it's going to be for him to load my weight and start to roll, right? So that's not something you want to be doing. I want to be completely perpendicular. So whenever we go to this position, make sure that you're pivoting and I'm right over top of his body, cross side. Now, general control, basic side control, I'm going to be basically solar plexus or my sternum going across his solar plexus, okay, so that we're kind of cutting the body in half. My knee on one side is blocking his hip, and obviously, depending on height and everything else, length of limbs, this will change up a bit. My other knee is going to be floating somewhere around his shoulder, ear region, and then I have my cross face and underhook. So again, knee at the hip, knee at the shoulder, cross face underhook. So my cross face goes underneath his head, my underhook goes underneath his arm, and I'm going to get a gable grip. So palm to palm over top of your thumb, overlapping the thumb rather, and then pull the guy in. Now we want to minimize space, right? I'm in a dominant position, he's trying to create space, I'm trying to minimize space. So my toes tucked together, my knees slide wide, I sit back over my heels and I pull him to me. A lot of people make the mistake that when they try and close space, they go to them, and then you lift your butt off your heels. My hips are high now. I created more space at my hip for his knee, for hip escaping and everything else. Or again, I'm giving too much weight for it and you can start to elevate. So get your knees in tight, sit down and pull him to you, okay? Now, as I said, we're kind of splitting the body here. So I have decent control over the hips. I have decent control with my cross face and his upper body. This is not a fun place to be for the person on the bottom, okay? But we can mix it up a little bit and focus in depending on where he's giving me an issue. Because remember, I always want to deal with the issues that he gives me. I don't want to ignore them. So if I start finding that he's pushing a lot with his frame, or he's giving me a lot of issues with the upper half of his body, right? The dangerous part of him is now the head, right? Pretend that you're fighting a snake. I'm gonna grab right behind the jaw, and lock him down from there. I don't care if he coils his body around me that much, so long as I'm dealing with the head. So in this position, I'm going to shift my body up higher on him and focus on my cross face. Now, this isn't going to be pleasant for you guys, but it's necessary to understand the control that you get from here. When I'm back here like this, again, and I try and put shoulder pressure down, I can't actually put any weight over it. And you can see if he wants to look towards my hips, then he can. If he can look towards my hips, that also means he can turn towards my hips. So if he's giving me an issue here, or if I want to control his upper body, I shift my weight up a bit higher. I get my, not sliding outside, like my hand should still be in the same place, but it's just that I'm bringing all of my mechanics of my body, the hinge points of my body up higher, so that now I can really start to crush his face and force him to look away. So the same concept, if he can't look towards me, that means that he's not able to turn his hips as much towards me and control him from there. Just watch again your pressure. I'm not doing this kind of stuff. I'm not opening my elbow back. I'm keeping my elbow tight underneath him. I'm just focusing on driving that shoulder in, crushing the guy's face, and really pinching down in this position. Think that your knee is telling his ear secrets, or standard, it's to just get underneath his shoulder here, like so. And I can really, really smash the guy in this position, okay? So again, standard side control, knee at the hip and the shoulder, control from here to stay nice and tight. I like, some instructors like to say to look at the guy. I've always found it, my throat tends to get a little bit more pressure there. I always like to look away and keep my eyes on the hips, because it's usually the legs are more dangerous. Then option 2, slide up a bit and then buckle down on that shoulder pressure there and just crush the guy, okay? Now in all these positions, what I want to see from the person on the bottom, once it gets established, just move around a bit. Just light hip escapes, just so you can feel the control and also how shitty it is to be this person, okay? So standard, a little bit of movement, slide up, really good shoulder pressure, crush the guy's face a bit. It's not going to be pleasant, but obviously still be respectful. Get your partner to move around a little bit. And then the last option is that we're going to focus on controlling the hips. And this is where it feels like you're drowning. Okay, this is where when you want someone to really control someone, really want to stall in a match, you just got, that last 2 points, you got that last advantage for almost, whatever, you got knee on belly and you drop back down again and you're like 30 seconds left on the clock. You want to guarantee the guy doesn't get out, we're going to go here. So now we're going to drop our weight down. I'm sliding low on his body, but to do this, I can't give up the upper body control. I can't always give up full control. So when I release my cross face, or my gable grip here, thumb into the back of the gi, and then get a nice strong grip, and I use that to kind of punch down to the floor, and I shift my weight back, knee driving, let me just lift your legs for a sec, knee driving underneath his butt here, or in between his heel and his butt, my elbow pinching in here, and then solidify with the grip, and I really, really tuck my head in tight, and you notice that my other leg is sprawled, toes in, because I want this leg just to focus on this vise, this clamp, and this leg gives me that energy to kind of power, just using my toe to chase him. And in this spot here, if he starts trying to hip escape or anything like that, I'm right on his hip. So move around a little bit, Chris. And again, like here, this is where you feel like you're not going anywhere. The nice thing about this position too is I still have a bit of a cross face, but I'm utilizing the grip. So if he starts getting a little bit wily up top here, just think about pulling back and then forcing your forearm in. So I'm rolling my power forward, and you can still get a pretty nice cross face there. However, watch your arm, because sometimes guys will catch something kind of funny on you, or catch your wrist or something. So you have to respect the position still. Okay? So again, we're gonna start from here. He reaches up for his position, knee in, so that you're practicing the correct thing on the bottom. As I collect, he'll let me go, and then we'll go here, okay? He moves around a little bit, and I always follow, guys. As he creates space, I follow him. So if his hips go away from me, my knee follows, and I reposition. Then, again, climb up a bit, focus your hands a little bit further towards his head, and then really crush the guy's face, make him look away from you, or if he doesn't want to look away from you, he's gonna get it on his mouth, okay? And again, he's gonna move around a bit, and just really kind of pin the guy, and then from there, we catch our grip, thumb in, slide down, buckle down, and then from this position, he moves again, pinning, pinning, pinning. This is where it really sucks to be, especially if you're bigger than the guy here on top. and then reset, okay, or switch top to bottom. Okay, so a lot of little things there, but just to get you outside of the mentality of side controls is one position, one behavior. Okay, let's go. The position here. So side control is a pitting position. It can be very offensive too, as far as submissions, but realistically, mainly it is to pin, it's to control, right? And then tire the personnel, make them make a mistake, and then you improve your position where you can get to a spot where you have more viable or easier to hit subs. Okay, so I'm going to give you two options here for this position. First one, either standard side control or when you're up high there. This one's going to be a nice aggressive way of mounting, but I don't use it that often because it also utilizes a little bit more energy. So, gable grip again. What I'm going to start with here is open up my elbow, because as my body transitions over top of him, I'm going to be giving him my weight, which means that he'll be able to roll me easier. So what I don't want to do is tighten up my base or close my base up as I transition. It may feel comfortable at first, but then you'll recognize that you don't have the foundation of that base established if you don't do this first step. So what we're going to do here is open his elbow, or open my elbow up, and I plant. So I'm shifting my weight into the roll, yes, but it's to get the weight over the tip of my elbow here. Now from here, I already start opening up this space, which is actually more important than opening up this space here in this particular technique. So elbow opens, and then now from here, I'm going to focus on getting the point of my knee through. So you see my hip is, think like there's a string on the back of my gi here, that's just being pulled to the sky. And as I do this, my knee slides on top. Now from here, I'm always ready and willing to utilize my head as a post too. If he does try and roll me, it overpowers my elbow position. Now think about it this way. I may have been good there, and I really exaggerated that elbow motion, but as I turn to mount here, you see it? This elbow now is closed up. My elbow's at my knee, which means that if he does roll me or hips up, exactly, you can see I end up rolling. So as I slide through, my elbow continues to drag in an arc. So my elbow went here on the point, and then as I go forward, my elbow should end up almost above his head. Okay? Now, what really makes this good or not good for your partner on the bottom, I want you guys to focus on trying to cut this guy in half. Okay? My upper body, remember, it's sliding. You're already pulling, stretching this section. Some of you watch your shoulder if you already have some injuries. My knee isn't just driving across. My shin is pushing into his hips, and that's trying to remove his hips from his torso. Okay? So if we go again, I'm here, and again, I could have done it from this higher point too. You'll have even more room, but you always have to watch his knee pressure too. You don't want him to slip in before you slip your knee in. So elbow opens. Again, that string pulls my tailbone up as my knee drives, but again, my elbow is going to continue to open as I mount, and my shin is pushing, if I just go like this, it's pushing like this towards his hip as my knee goes towards the mat, and I go here. And I see here, I'm like trying to tear his body in half. And then from this position, Tommy detail here, kick the mat, and then reestablish your spot. Now, that kick isn't necessary for the technique, but for competition, it makes a big difference. For him to get mount, or for me to have mount points, my whole foot has to be underneath. So let's just say he just turned your hips that way, right? Not even my foot here. If he just has this, that's not mount. Ridiculous, I know, but for points, that's not there. So a lot of guys will turn their hips with you as you try and mount, and then the referee will have to walk around, look through, and see if your foot is truly free and in mount fully before they give you the points. So when you give them that audible smack, clearly your foot is not between their legs and just hit the ground. So it's a really good detail and a good methodology. Plus, psychologically for him, you just put a stamp on that position. It's like you just got mounted. So again, from here, open the elbow up, butt raises, but you have to be careful. I can't raise my butt up and have the guy's knee just slip in, right? The knee has to be kind of leading that charge here. And again, split this guy in half, bam, and then think about your base, tuck your toes in. Okay, one more. Elbow, knee, and again, I'm pulling forward with my elbow and my hands as my shin pushes this way, but again, the knee still has to be sliding through. And, okay, Real nice aggressive way of getting them out. Option 2, we can do this from either standard or when we're low on the hips here. So you can do this from here or from back here. We're just gonna switch our base. Now key thing, I don't need to trap this arm, but I want to. So when I come across here, I wanna make sure I get my wrist under his, elbow to elbow, and pinch. Not here because he can open up. And if I get to his forearm, he pulls free. Elbow to elbow. So I'm here, lock it, and then anchor it. Get a grip, wherever the hand ends up. So if he was taller, maybe this grip would be on his belt then, right, or his gi. But here, I'm on his pant. Now from this position, my knee switches with this knee here. 1, 2 here. And I keep my head low. The big thing is, remember, right now he's being complacent, so there's no knee pressure, but he should still have knee pressure. And if I do this, right, you're gonna get smashed in the face. That's how half my broken teeth happen. Okay, keep your head low, knee pressure, and use your forearm to push so the hand is there just to help block in case. Now you have 2 options or 3 options from here. 1, I can either start to hip back, which you should be doing anyways, push his hips away. If I just hip back like this, stay tight, right? If I just do this, he follows me, right? Start turning. So what I have to do is create pressure. I push his hips away as I walk my hip back, and then now I can switch my knee back in and basically do what we just did. Knees in front, drive through to mount. Or, option 2, I pull his legs towards me and step over. Or option 3, push, pull. Go to the other leg instead, push his hips away, and naturally there's always gonna be pushback, right? If I push, he wants to swing. So I have to push, 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 and then boom. Now you notice I'm not trying to put my shin down. This is awkward, okay? So when you step, think about stomping on the mat, because now as I turn, my knee drives, and I can go to mount. Okay. So option 1, elbow, mount. Option 2, you start from here, or you could go from where I just was. Wrap, catch, walk here, switch your base. So you see my other knee took over. Hip back. I could either go right back to where I was just at, or I pull his legs, step, or I push his legs, step. Okay? That's the rest. Solid blue gear. Hey, so key thing with today's class is just to give you a little bit more purpose on top. Main point is just to be head on top. Just be strong, take the life out of the person. You just want to suffocate the person on the bottom, right? And the other thing to understand is that usually side control is the easier to make. Like, I would always prefer to try and escape from mount, other than the fact that I got mounted, right? Compared to side control. Side control, when someone is just concentrating on pinning you, not trying to submit you, not trying to mount, is, in my opinion, the tougher position to escape, or the toughest position to escape. So remember, they need to create space. You're trying to minimize it, so don't give them any room. Don't loft yourself. Make them carry your weight. Be dead weight on top. Squeeze them. Crush their jaw. Make them look the wrong way. Make them twist their spine around. You know, like so they're looking here, so they can't escape to that side with your, your cross face. And control the hips, which is usually the most important thing. And again, we are going to look at submissions on top here at the end of the week, but I want you guys focusing on just dominating from this spot and then getting to mount. Okay, and then from there, we're going to work on our escapes on Wednesday, and then we're going to be doing the submissions on Friday. A lot of specific this week, so make sure you know your deck's nice and loose and you're ready to get crushed a bit. I want guys to be a little bit mean on top within reason. Okay? There is a way of overdoing it. Okay? Now, last point again, the analogy of the log going down the river, right? Someone who's on the bottom who's trying to escape, they're the log, and the rapids, that's all their hip movement, hip escapes, and everything else. So side control, remember, I'm basically hugging the log, holding on for dear life here, and I'm very wet. I'm in the water, right? Most of my body's in the water, but I'm keeping the important parts of me out of the water. But remember, for that log to roll me over should be very difficult when I'm hanging off of them like this, right? Mount is better because I'm the most out of the water I can be. But once that log starts rolling, it's pretty tough to stay on top of it. Okay, so that's the analogy for the week. Okay. So heavy on top, control, maintain grips, take the life out of the person when they feel like giving up or they start getting a little bit too wild on the bottom to create space. That's your good opportunity to mount, or again, just crush, dominate, force them into a position where you can get to mount, and then the submissions will start appearing with that pressure. Person on the bottom, remember hand positions, frame, keep your knees tight, stay calm and cool, because if you start overdoing it, that's where you get yourself into issues. Okay? All right, guys. Just grab partners, grab a quick sip if you need it, and then we'll do some reps.